opinions expressed by callers, guests, and hosts do not necessarily reflect those of the Black Talk Radio Network and Black Talk Media Project. Black Talk Radio is new black media for the new millennium.
Dinar would have had serious consequences for the world financial system, but may also have empowered the people of Africa, something black activists say the US wants to avoid at all costs.
We're slicing cake. We're slicing cake. We're slicing cake.
Say the US wants to avoid at all costs.
We're slicing cake.
Say the US wants to avoid at all costs.
We're slicing.
Gaddafi didn't give up. In the months leading up to the military intervention, he called on African and Muslim nations to join together to create this new currency that would rival the dollar and euro. They would sell oil and other resources around the world only for gold dinars. It's an idea that would shift the economic balance of the world. Countries' wealth would depend on how much gold they have, not how many dollars they trade. And Libya has 144 tons of gold.
Welcome everyone to Thando Radio Show, brought to you by Black Talk Radio Network. I'm your host, Dave from LA, coming to you live from FEMA Region number 6. On today is July the 14th, 2017. And we have a live show for you today. Looking forward to the show. And at any time, if you'd like to get in on the conversation, just give us a call. 866-510-9025, 866-510-9025. Hit star. And we will see you in queue and definitely will bring you up for your very important question or comment that you may have, because I always say that a dialogue is much more important than a monologue, so that we can engage. And so, but before we get into today's show, let's definitely set the administrative duties of the day, and everyone can please continue to support Black Talk Radio Network and all of the programs that are brought to you by Black Talk Radio Network via the donation prompt that's on the website for this network, and you can find that at www.blacktalkradionetwork.com, www.blacktalkradionetwork.com. And once you go there to the website, you'll see on the far right-hand margin, you will see the green donation prompt with the holding hands. Just click that, and that will lead you into how you can give some of your financial energy so this network can continue to grow and do what it's been doing, and why you value it so much. It can expand and grow and do even more. So it's never, it's always something more that can be added. And we hope that you truly do appreciate it. And that's very, very important to me. It speaks a lot about us as people when we appreciate something and we don't have a sense of entitlement towards things. And so definitely, if you would, give some of your financial energy to, and it doesn't matter how great or how small it is greatly appreciated, and it will be used in a way to keep this going so that you can continue to get what you get out of Black Talk Radio Network and all of the programs that are brought to you by Black Talk Radio Network. So hopefully that will be something that will be important to you. Also, you can also support Black Talk Radio Network by going to its social media outlet known as BTR Community, and BTR Community is a social media outlet that was put together by Black Talk Radio Network so that you can have a more holistic way of engaging in social media activities without being adversely affected, meaning that your identity won't be sold, and meaning that you won't be adversely affected by what you post, what you think, what you say, what you share, and all those other things as the other ones are. You may think because you don't give up any cash, that is not the only way that you pay for, the other ones, because a lot of people are there. That's very true. Very, very true. There are a lot of people there. But I realize for me, and this just works for me, that saying what works for you, I don't ever want to be where a lot of people are under these climates and in these conditions, because you'll find that what has been the real downfall of us is going to be perpetuated there on by it is thick, more than thick. And we all, many people think that that's just the regular way and that's the way you're supposed to. And they, that's the only way that they can engage. And if any programming or anything is contrary to that, they think that it's something wrong with it. I really don't care, because myself, I don't want to be around that type of energy and that type of that type of mentality. It's just not for me, because of all of the adverse things that go along with it. So I'm cool, but I think that BTR community is a great place for you to engage in. It is not something that has millions and millions of people, and that's the beauty of it all. It doesn't come with everybody else. I mean, it doesn't have the baggage and the nonsense and just the ignorant bliss that the other ones have. And that's why I appreciate it. It's the only place that I post. So come on over to BTR community, only $24 a year, $24 a year. And you can promote yourself, your business, and things that are important to you and comment on it. So that's where we'd love to see you all. And I think that's where you should be. And hopefully those that will be coming in the future will maintain that overall trend that we've been setting and not do the other things that are in the other places. So very, very refreshing to me to be around very cerebral people. It's just so refreshing. So definitely appreciate that. Okay. So also, if you would like to acquire real money, you could do that by going to Prosperity Mint. Prosperity Mint is PROSPERITYMINT.com, and check out what's in inventory there. And you may not be paid as a king or a queen or as a lady and a gentleman, but you can save as one. And you do that with real money. That is one of the most perfect forms of money. And there are other forms of money, but that is one of the more perfect forms of money, you being one of the other ones. Very, very important. Definitely, you don't want to trade your overall talents and your abilities for worthlessness. So don't want to do that. Let me see what else we got here. Also, for those of you that are engaged, let me do this. Before I do that, those of you that would like to engage in the cryptocurrency, there was the one individual that signed up today. Was super busy. I will send you how to set up your account today. For those of you that would like to engage in the cryptocurrencies, you can do that by going to ourcryptocurrency.com, and you will see that it will link you into Trade Coin Club. You can sign up there. You can actually fund that account for $200 or more. And that will get you where it will start to trade. That system will trade for you. We'll send you all of the information that you need. Very, very important in today's world, and what you can gain from it. It's a lot that you can gain from it. Also, if everyone would please continue to give some of donate to my man, Willie Manuel. Willie Manuel is roughly about a month ago finished his last chemotherapy treatment for germ cell cancer that he was diagnosed with, and his body is going to need the proper nutrients, essential minerals, and different things so that he can heal properly, and it's expensive to do that. And if you would all help the family out, and then that way they would be able to get everything that they need. Go to the GoFundMe campaign for that. Campaign for that is GoFundMe.com, GoFundMe.com/Sam Union Yankee 5P-3500, so that young Will Emmanuel will be able to properly recover from both the chemo and keep the overall cancer in remission. So definitely please be a part of that. if you can donate what it is that you can, and we greatly appreciate you. So we haven't done what's in the news for the past 2 days, and we got a bunch of stuff that's all there, and it's a bunch of stuff. So check out. I don't think we're going to be able to catch up, but there's some real good stuff, and there's some stuff that I definitely want to share with you all. My man Ross posted a lot of good stuff. It's there. Definitely go and check that stuff out. You will be greatly amazed by it all, and some things that you definitely want to know. So check that out. Let me just go through. There's a lot of good stuff that's there. So it's just far too much. Check out what's there, and you'll be able to see some of the things that was going on in the world. So much I'm going to go through stuff is just way too much right now, but it's some really good stuff. I'm trying to go through. It's so much. Roz posted a lot of good stuff. Trying to think, where do we start with this? And because it's so much, it would take the whole show to do all of this. It's really, really good stuff that's there. So I'm just going through some of the stuff what's in the news. And if you're on BTR community, you would see definitely that. A couple of things I'm a highlight. My man Roz posted this one from Futuristic. The Kepler Belt, our solar system's biggest mystery. Science has just presented new evidence that support Planet 9 existence. And yes, we've done many shows on that, and we're going to do some more on that as well. So what else is there? It's just a lot of stuff. Oh, check out this one. It's going. Roz posted this one from Lying Like a Fox News. Is your shampoo safe? Is your shampoo safe? Avoid these harmful ingredients. Check out that. Definitely want to do that. And this one, Roz posted this from some Cerebrally Naive Network. House passes defense bill that would create the Space Corps. Another branch of the military. Don't know why you need to do that. NASA is the branch of the military. So don't know why they need to do that, but speaks volumes as to where things is going to be going in the future. And we see a couple of more. There was some that Roz had posted didn't come up. I have to click on them. Wanted to see some of those too. Let me see. Other good ones. Those are some. It's a whole lot that's there. So those are some of the ones that Roz posted. Here are some of the ones that I posted today. Some of the ones, and I didn't post that many, but here are some of the ones that I posted today. This one comes from the Harvard Business Journal. Harvard S&P Global Rating reduced to junk status. The city of Hartford, Connecticut, has been reduced to junk status. Check out that article. Next article from Illinois Reviews. Moody warns Magdalene's budget hike might not be enough to avoid junk status for the whole state. So the whole thing, we are starting to have, and this is the thing about that, when Hartford and when Illinois has junk status, that means their bonds are worthless, and their overall, they won't be able to borrow. It's just like your credit rating going to, unfundable, or you can't. That's exactly what that means, and that is huge. So check out that. Next article comes from, we do these things because they're easy, our all-consuming dependency on debt. Check out that one. Really good one. And then this one comes from, I posted this one from Veterans Today. Trump's son-in-law tried to get $500 million loan from Qatar. Next article from South China Morning Post is China approaching a Lehman moment. And then it was this was posted a couple of times. Rise posted it. Strategic Melanin posted this one. And this comes from, in different forms of different publications. This one comes from Press TV, which is our Iranian publication. Giant iceberg breaks off of Antarctica. Check out that one. And My last one is this one comes from Russia Today International. Bitcoin's rival, Ethereum, gobbling up cryptocurrency market. So check out that. Those are what's in the news. We're going to jump into today's show. There's a bunch of things we want to get into. Today is Financial Friday. And today's show is, what is the blockchain and how will it affect you? Very, very important. What is the blockchain and how will it affect you? It has everything to do with the crypto space. And I think that this is very, very important that we start with that. But before we do that, it's going to be two videos we're going to check a look at. There's a video I want you to hear with oh, man, what's this dude's name? I know it. Don't you hate? It's right on the tip. I know it. This is the CEO, Terry Duffy. Terry Duffy is the celebrity figurehead CEO of the CME, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, basically where all commodities are contracted out of and sold into the market. Okay, so he's the CEO of that. What? Why did that go? 1 second. And he's the CEO of that. And by being the CEO of it, one of his main jobs and one of his overall emphasis is always to suppress the precious metals, particularly silver. And that's what his job is, really. And they won't tell you that, but that's what his job is. And so what I want to do is I want to play something for you that's very important. It's Financial Friday. I got this from Lying Like a Fox News Business yesterday, and it says, market is slightly frustrated with some of the Fed's comments, CME Group Chair. I want you to listen to what he says carefully. We're going to talk a little bit about it, then we're going to jump into today's show. If you'd like to give us a call at any time, give us a call, 866-510-9025, 866-510-9025, then hit ***. We'll definitely see you in queue, and we'll bring you up. Looking forward to talking to you. Listen to what he says, especially towards the end. Critical. Really, the end is really what it has, but we're going to lay it out. Now, he's the CEO, once again, of the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. He's the one, his job is to make sure that you don't know the value of silver, that you think that gold is more valuable than silver, that platinum or palladium, because when you don't know, it can be used against you. Excuse me, 1 second. And that's the main job there. And they do it very, very well in the means and how they do it. And actually in our precious metals class, we actually show you and teach you how that is so that you can use it to your benefit. Very, very important. So going to get with that. And let me just, everything is, yep, I think I got everything good to go. So I'm going to play this. Listen up. Listen to the end of it. This is Duffy, Terry Duffy of the CME. Here we go.
Would be the fallout here if the House resists whatever the Senate is trying to do. That is assuming on the healthcare thing the Senate does come up with something, all in an effort to try to proceed with tax reform, and that doesn't happen or gets delayed. The CME Group Chairman and CEO Terry Duffy on how the markets might react. Terry, always good to have you. Thanks for coming.
Neil, thank you for having me, my friend.
What do you make of that argument that something is better than nothing? The view seems to be it's not perfect, but it keeps the ball advancing to get something that would be better than Obamacare is presently, something that would be better on the tax front, but there's hell to pay if the markets don't get either.
So you know that I am not a healthcare expert, but I can't help myself. I will weigh in on one of the things the congressman did say. And what he said, that we could have an affordable health care in a free market system. In a free market system, I like to remind my friend in the Congress that free markets go up and down. It doesn't mean it necessarily will be affordable. So that is the one and only issue I would even raise. Outside of that, Neil, I'll stick to financial services and get out of the health care bill.
As I should as well. But one of the things that I do know, and we're looking at the Dow, Terry, and what's been happening, is that a lot of it, I think, has been built on expectations that hook or crook controversies with Russia notwithstanding, that they will get what they want. They will get fewer regulations. They will get lower taxes. They will get some sort of revamped Affordable Care Act that will be more market-friendly than the one we have. Now, without getting into the weeds on that, much of my premise is built on the belief that these guys still see it happening in 2017. Do you?
You know, it looks like a pretty big lift sitting right here, Neil, but you never know how they're going to progress. It could go, you know, one thing about Washington, you and I have been around a long time and seen it. It can go very slowly, which it normally does, or it can go quickly. So we'll have to do a wait and see. One of the things I do know when you look at the markets, you know, what the interesting thing what Chairwoman Yellen said today is that she wants to raise rates. One of the reasons people are chasing the market maybe a little bit is not because of tax policy or not because of healthcare policy. It's because of interest rate policy. You know as well as I do, these markets have been, you know, nobody can invest in fixed income anywhere around the world that doesn't have huge risk outside of Greece and some of the other countries. But in some of the industrialized nations, the rates are so low. So you have to go into the marketplace in order to get some kind of a yield.
All right, so let's say she's, you know, or the interpretation is right, and the market seized on her saying maybe not a lot more hikes, and that's my interpretation. I could be very wrong. Then how does that affect what you're doing or what the markets are doing, what investors can look forward to?
Well, she, I think, referenced that she sees many more hikes to come, I think is what she said, something to that effect. And when I take that, now that doesn't mean that interest rates are going to 10%, but when you see many more hikes, on a percentage basis, Neil, where their interest rates are at today is so historically low that the percentage could be magnified to a point where it is very meaningful. So if you got to 1 or 2%.
She also said, and this is a short-term world, but I want to be clear, that she also said the Fed may not need to hike rates much more. They're talking about the near future, I assume the next year. Could the markets live with that? Are they expecting maybe one hike and then bets are off for next year, but for now they're focused on limited hikes this year?
I think the market is a little frustrated with what the Fed has said over the last several years, Neil. So the Fed said they wanted to see certain economic factors happen, including unemployment. A lot of those factors were in the marketplace, including unemployment and no inflation, and the Fed still did not move rates. That confused the market. I think the Fed chairwoman has to be very, very careful not to confuse the markets again. We're sitting at very historic levels on equities, and we're sitting at historic levels on rates. So whatever she says, she has to be careful with because she cannot confuse the market again.
You know, there are a lot of people who always sort of say, all right, this market, you know, commodities notwithstanding in your particular area of expertise, that it's run far and fast without barely a pause, and that we're due for just on historical standards. Do you agree with that? And if so, is it a fall event when the Federal Reserve starts unwinding, or what's your sense?
Well, I actually think we've already seen it when you look at some of the asset classes we trade, Neil, if that's what you're referring to. When you look at the energy sector in general, you know, oil traded between $90 and $94 a barrel forever, and then all of a sudden it trades $26.50 a barrel one day. And everybody goes, I didn't see that coming because everybody bought the break all the way down, and now oil's trading around that $45 a barrel. So we have seen that through this period of uncertain times or uncertain times within the Fed.
But we haven't seen it into the metals. We haven't seen this if you're concerned about, for example, global crises. And we see a little bit when we see the, you know, a dust up with the North Koreans or all of it. There's a brief run up, then it runs down. But what do you think's going on there, or beneath the scene? Is there something that we're missing?
Well, I think that's really interesting that, you know, what you raised, especially with the metals, because if you look at the price of gold today, just around $1,200 an ounce, and if you look at back in the early 80s, it was trading around $800 an ounce. So if you adjust for inflation, you know, you should have gold somewhere around $2,000 to $3,000 an ounce, but we don't. And then you look at what's gone on in the world, and it should probably be at $5,000 or $6,000 an ounce, but it's not. So the reason is, you know, I think a lot of us have become so jaded, and whatever happens in the world, it's like yesterday's newspaper in 5 minutes. So people are dismissing some of these events to a point where one day you won't be able to dismiss them, and you'll see a huge move.
I think you're right. I think, you know, I know you and I are sounding like the Cocoon Club here, but I think a lot of young investors, they don't remember that a lot of this stuff.
No.
That historically we have, you know, resisted of late, but you haven't resisted, you know, the simple fact that markets do go up and they do adjust and they obviously do change. What would be the fallout here?
All right. So I want to play that for this reason. One of the things that's very true. Part of the things of what they said there what Duffy said there is true, but also you got to be careful of the trap with them because it's under a manipulative market. But hear what he said, the key point when he talked about the metals. Said that in the 80s it was around $800 an ounce, and that was for the paper contract per ounce. And it's very true. And because of rate of inflation, it should be around $1,200. No, in actuality, it should be actually much, much more than that. Well, not much, much more, but it should be more than that. And I could actually, and I guess I should have done that. Let me see real quickly. Well, I'm going to make the point, then I'll tell you where the price should be. And what's significant about that, and he said, and then when you look at what's going on in the world, then it should be around $5,000 to $6,000 an ounce. And something, you know, when something happens, you're going to get caught all of a sudden, and it's going to be there. Now, it's a couple of things with that. That could be lacing as a bear trap, meaning trying to get people into the market, into the contract market of gold, and then they crash it even further. Or they tell you before it happens. So it gives credibility to the CME, especially for what's going on, when these people have no credibility at all because they are the ones that are doing the criminal manipulation. They are the ones that are monopolizing this criminally. And it's stealing from people. I mean, huge. Not only those with the contracts, but it's stealing from you. And that's what he said is because we don't look at history. And what does that mean? They always tell you before they do it, they tell you they're going to follow a historical path. And before you know it, it's up at this $5,000 to $6,000. Here's what I get with that. Something major is going to happen in the metals market. And it's going to jump up. And they never talk about silver. You'll never, ever hear them talk about silver. They're too scared to talk about silver because they don't want to. They got it right where they want it, where people have no clue of its value. That's exactly where the system wants it, and that's where they're not going to rock that boat. They're going to just ignore it like it's not there, and we walk right away from it. We absolutely walk right away from it. It's a good ploy. It's a good tactic. But what's significant about that is this, is that he's right from this standpoint, especially for what's going on in the world and what's transpiring, where they're losing, actually they are losing their overall stronghold on the precious metals to where now they're going to be traded for, you won't be able to have contracts anymore. They're going to be traded for supply and demand. And who's going to ensure that's going to happen? China and the BRIC nations and the ASEAN nations, and also the just the rest of the world is going to insist that you can no longer have paper manipulation of the precious metals, which is going to destroy your standard of living. It's going to absolutely destroy your standard of living. But what's critical in what he said, was, here's the key to what we said, is that we don't look at history. We have no clue about history. We just haphazardly, he didn't say this, but what he's saying is that the system loves to create haphazard fads to distract you from what you should be doing, and then you don't get caught by what's going on, and then later on you say, wow, I wish I would have known, when it was all there the whole time. It's like the perfect play. The perfect play. And he said it should be, and because of what's going on geopolitically, it should be 5,000 to 6,000. And actually, it should be even more. Actually, it should be even more from what's going to be happening. So from that, what does that tell you? One, that there's a plan of things that are happening that they are going to benefit from. And they're going to benefit from it at the everyday person's expense. And one of the things he said that was critical, he said that in the 80s, gold was trading around $800 an ounce, and it should be roughly around, what did he say? Did he say $2,000 an ounce? I forgot. I think he did say $2,000 an ounce for today's rate of inflation. And he's absolutely right. It should be right around $2,000 for 1 ounce of gold. But see, this is something that we don't know, so we don't see that we're having the opportunity to get something that is even beneath inflation. And man, that's when you should be, this is why you should be saving as a king and a queen or as a lady and a gentleman. So with that being said, it's right around $2,000 that today's where the price of gold should be because of the rate of inflation. But it's at $1,200. And like you said, people don't know anything about history, and they're going to use that. And then all of a sudden, one of the things that they're going to do is they're going to let this thing spike way up. Just overnight, all of a sudden, boom, you won't have time to respond to it. And then by that time, because it is at that, you know what people will say? Oh, I wish I had bought it when it was at here, here, and here, when it was at 1,100. I wish I bought it was at 12. Wish I bought silver when it was at $20 an ounce. Now it's $200 an ounce, $300 an ounce. Oh man, I wish I would have. But we don't look at history to look at what we should be doing, and we don't know a good deal when we see it. All we really do look at is what is being advertised to us in consumerism, and that's never going to get you to save a darn thing. That's going to get you to expend, and to overexpend, to overexpose yourself and overextend yourself beyond your overall means and capabilities. That's what the system, that's what it does. So I wanted you to hear that and the significance of it, so that you can see that there are things that you should be doing individually, family-wise, and community-wise to position yourself for the future. Because what you do today is going to set you up for later on. And they were talking about Janet Yellen. One of the things that Yellen said, and she gave a big clue this week, she said that the overall rate of debt of the U.S., the rate of debt the U.S. is currently is unsustainable. So what does that mean, ladies and gentlemen? It means they're not going to be able to pay their bills. That means that their cash is going to lose its overall purchasing power. That means that they're going to collapse your way of living if you have not prepared for it accordingly. There are very few things that are more significant of that. Let me ask you something. Was feeding your children and feeding yourself, eating, was that important to you today, yesterday, and the other day? How important will it be when things change up? And that will be a very difficult task, extremely difficult task. And I'm going to tell you, the system wants you only to be able to work to pay for housing and to pay for food. That's how you know that you really, really are able to denigrate people's ability to think on a sovereign, self-determining level. Because they'll be exhausted. They're going to expend you of all your energy. Man, this is the truth. And it's things that you won't hear. You'll never hear me talk about things that are going to be the mainstream propaganda that you get bombarded with all the time. We structured this, and I structured this for a reason, to make you aware so that you can decide what you're going to do. And you can decide to listen, turn the channel, or go do other things that make you feel better. That will be cool. But I always love living by this turn. You can ignore reality, but you'll never be able to ignore the consequences of you ignoring reality. And it's not a measure of fear or everything else. No, it's not. The truth is the truth. And the degrees of it are very, very important because we haven't been living to our fullest potential. And what we, in my opinion, what we actually try to acquire is unobtainable. It's unobtainable. Why is there so much mental illness? Why is there so much physical illness? Why is there so much famine, so many wars, and everything else? Because we keep doing the same things over and over. Now it's made us insane because we think something else is going to happen if we keep doing the exact same thing. The rules of the game have never changed. The rules of the game is this, that they want to exploit you and make you think that you're comfortable. And that comfortability is what makes you happy, joyful, successful. And guess what it's going to be? Empty. Going to be empty. Because there is nothing that is sustainable in the calories of lies and of comfortability that this system produces. Your body, soul, mind, spirit cannot sustain itself off of that level. This is why we have a lot of the issues that we have. You're being fed the most dangerous junk food of all. I want to be happy. I want to be comfortable. And what you're going to find is that you may change your physical will to accept that, but your spiritual existence and the way you resonate will be actually suppressed, smothered, and it won't resonate well. And that unkeeling of balance that you will be taken off from there will be a very painful life. It's a very painful life in so many different ways, but you don't have to resonate that way. We all know, you all know by listening to Thando Radio Show, you all know by being here at this time, what's some of the things that we talk about and what's critical and what is it that we hope to accomplish. Let me say this about, one of the things about preparing is that it's very difficult to do from this standpoint. Because what you're preparing for, you don't always get to see right away. When the system always shows you this happens in a microwave time frame. They show you the success. This is why their videos is only 3 minutes and 3 seconds. And all of that is put it together really quickly so that it confuses your already toxified minds and your toxified reasoning to think that that is obtainable and is beneficial to you. A pimp's game is always to have someone on the stroll. This is what this system does. Has us always on the stroll. Break that stroll. Walk for yourself. Think for yourself. Create for yourself. Be more natural in yourself. Take the small steps to get there, because the overall, how deep it is, you'll get exhausted trying to run too fast. Just constantly move forward, and you'll be fine. So I just wanted to show you that and give you a heads up on that, how that plays. I know how I'm playing that whole thing, but what's good for me may not be good for you. I don't care if they push the price of silver and gold up or push the price of silver and gold down. I win either way. And I win because I know how they do it, why they do it, and with the method of why they're doing it and when they're going to do it and at what degrees they're going to do it. So I've always positioned myself for the return. And I realized that this is more than just something that you prepare. Preparing is nothing about one event. It's really about changing the way you resonate. Changing the way you resonate. And that's what this is so to me, is important. And for some of you, it's very, very important, is the reason why you're here. So if you'd like to get in on the conversation at any time, give us a call, 866-510-9025, 866-510-9025, and we will see you in queue, and we'll definitely get to you. Now, there is something I want to – today's show, it's a couple of things I want to do. How much time we got? Okay, cool. We're good on time. So a couple of things I want to do. There's an article that I think is very, very, very important, and today's show as well is very important. And I'm going to probably go to this video first because I want to get that one out of the way. And today's is, what is the blockchain and how it affects you? Then we're going to come back with time, something that I want to share with you all. But if you have a question or comment that you would have, just give us a call, 866-510-9025, 866-510-9025. Then there's another article that I want to jump in with you and to just give you some food for thought and to engage you in a way that is beneficial to you. That's what the true essence of when someone sincerely has care for you. And I think it's always important. And there are people that I admire because in spite of how you feel or how I feel or whatsoever, they always try to tell you what they think is best. And they sincerely give that to you. You could never, ever. That is something that you should cherish. That's something that you should be always grateful for. But I think in that, the thing is that it's also both ways. We have to always appreciate those that really do care for it in all forms and fashions. Doesn't mean that they're always going to be right or always going to be wrong, but what we can appreciate is that they do. That's so powerful. So important. So today's Financial Friday, and I wanted to bring something to you. What is the blockchain and how it affects you? And the reason being is because there are great opportunities that you can discipline yourself to actually allow you to acquire things that you want to put yourself in a better situation so that you will be more, it's easier for you to be sovereign and self-determining, so that you could do some things to protect yourself, get real assets so that you'll be able to withstand some of the things that are going to continue to happen in this so methodical. And when you do, then it gives you a certain level of balance. It won't balance you out completely. But what I always like to do is that it may satisfy the monkey mind that has been turned up by this system long enough for you maybe to get balance to take the monkey out of captivity and allow it to be free. And I mean the monkey mind, I always like to think about, how put a monkey on a spinning wheel. The old cartoons used to put a monkey or whatever, or you remember a hamster or a hamster mind. They used to put the hamsters on this running wheel and just spin. I thought that was so cruel. And what it really did is it psychologically conditioned us all to be cruel, not only to ourselves and everyone else around, but every other living thing, to think that it's okay to do those types of things. It was psychological training. It was actually mind control. It was actually they were putting you under a spell. It was actually putting you on inside of the wheel to spin it. So there are some things that you could do, and there's some directions that you could seize upon right now, and opportunity-wise, that could be beneficial to you and to your family and to our community and all those that resonate like you. But it's up to you. It's completely up to you. So I want to play this for you about what is the blockchain and how it's going to change currency and business. This one says how it's going to change money. Well, we don't have any money that is up for auction. I mean, that is being used. You have to choose to use money absent of the economic system. That has to be an individual choice of yours. And how business is going to be done in the future. There are some great, great opportunities. This is like the reintroduction to the economy that is just starting out, and you can get in for just, they're going to be talking about this years from now, and at this time, people are going to say, I wish I had did this. I wish I had did. This is one of the reasons why I'm in the cryptos, and I didn't sell any of my cryptos, but they've done extremely, extremely, extremely well. Why? Because I've taken I think they're going to go further, and I'm willing to take the risk on that because of what I've already gained. And it's not really important as to what I did gain, but it's really important as to the opportunity for you to. Because then when you do, then there can be a sincere conversation that I can have with you because you understand some of the things. Sometimes, and I'm going to tell you, and I talked about this before, people that have trust and foundations can't do business with people that don't. They would like for people to get trust and foundation so that they can do business with them. And the reason why they can't is because that would mean that they've wasted everything that they've done to do the trust and foundation. They've wasted that opportunity. And it's the same thing with a lot of things. Until we start having a more pointed and a more directed conversation, there are some conversations that you won't be able to have with people, nor business that you could do with people, because you are not positioning yourself with any form of understanding, or you may not get the essentials, and you're not aware of how things work and why they work. But there will be, just as we do here, we try to show different things to you so that you can make your own decisions. And then once is basically, and the best way to put it is that once you've made a commitment to something and then you've seen for yourself how things work, no longer do you do what you've done before. The children will always stop asking you why once they understand and they've experienced why. Their whys turn into different questions. It always goes into ways that they haven't experienced or they have a question about. But once you engage in something and you know why, you don't ask that same question anymore. It turns you off into another direction to push forward. So I think it's very, very important. And before we go to that, we got 10 minutes. And because of that, I'm going to check out this. I want to read this one thing to you. real quickly. I got to find it. Had posted so many things. If you'd like to get in on the conversation after we listen to the next video, give us a call, 866-510-9025, 866-510-9025. Let me see if I got to find this one thing that I think is very, very, you always hear me say very, very important. I think it's significant. And I got this one from the Waking Times. And it says, three pressing dilemmas of the awakened mind. And here we go. It used to be easy to hold hostage to the consciousness of mankind. Oops. Stop moving. All right. It used to be easy to hold the consciousness of mankind, the information which wove together societies and monolithic disseminations by church and state, understanding that the world beyond one's personal sphere of experience was limited to those perspectives. While evolutionary progress was slow in that paradigm, over time, small advances grew into sweeping changes, and the future is now upon us. Today, we are wide awake in the age of adoration, at a time when knowledge, wisdom, truth, trust, hope, and faith have splintered into an infinite sea of preference, all instantly above all. All instantly available to all. Let me move this down. An awakening has already happened, but now we're confronted with the great challenge of deciding what to do with it. Because the awakening mind is not necessarily a mind at ease nor at peace. This is more unsettling than those that are still sleepwalking. Shallow forms of bliss just won't do. But now, free of the bondage of ignorance, we are lost in opportunity, drowning in unrealistic potential. In the journey from sleep to awakening, we were in. Let me move this down. Daggone it. Stop moving. In the journey from asleep to awakening, we were possessed by a need for information, from light shores to darkness. But this phrase must come to an end, lest our evolution is stalled. We have to show somehow, from awakening to actuality, that the face of a new set that will emerge with different challenges. Move this down. These puzzles are pitfalls in search of meaning in an even more intensified environment. Each of the three dilemmas noted below hinge upon two others, that they are not independent of one another. They exist as natural synergy and symbolism between them, which must be honored. The decision we make in each of these arenas will determine which path becomes open to us in other arenas. Let me move this down. Hopefully this thing will stop moving. Stop moving. For your consideration, what follows are the three most pressing dilemmas of the awakened mind. Number one, what do we choose to include in our awareness? It is in very particular terms. In such total information awareness, we are today what consciously or unconsciously chooses what information and what ideas to consume. The choice span the entire spectrum of human possibility, from the darkest blackness of human souls to the most shimmering golden lights of infinite consciousness. We are exposed to all range of vibrations. Choose we must. There is a paradox at play here. In a large part, the information which jolted us from our contemporary consciousness is formulating a low vibration. It had to be this way. Total seriousness and gravity were required to be brutally forced on our eyes for us to wake up. But continuing to feed on the darkness only draws us in a different trap. Let me move this down. We can be awake while haplessly drowning in the abyss of base level consciousness. As tantalizing and as sensational as it is, this level of consciousness is heavy, always working to pull us under. How much violence, brutality, murder, inhumanity, psychopathic can we look at? How much spiritual pornography can we safely consume? How long can we simmer in the mainline narrative before all progress is lost and we find ourselves stuck in another cage? That is very, very important, number one. Because I like to say it this way: when we first hear about different things of waking up, and we run towards it. We absolutely run towards it instead of walking in it. There's a big difference between running towards it and walking in it. Running towards something means that you're in a race that you'll never catch up in it. Walking in it is your decision at your pace to do what it is that you can and not overextend yourself beyond what you can endure. Because it's not about a momentary flee. Because then what you're using is that you're using the awakening as a fad. How many of us are faddishly wakening up? And then I would say, are you really awake? Or is it just something that just satisfies the hunger or the appetite that we have now, where you have to have something to consume?
Hey, Dave.
But it never will be satisfied. Yeah, go ahead, Scotty.
You know, I come to the conclusion that a lot of people, oh, man, they claim to be awoke, but they ain't woke. I mean, it's like we live in a society of slogans. You know, it's like slogans and labels, right. Whatever sounds good. You know, I'm conscious this, I'm conscious that. But you ain't even conscious of the fact of a lot of stuff that's right in front of your face. So, I mean, words are important, man, and they're being misused a lot. So I just wanted to add that.
And Scotty, is what I, and all of us, and the thing about it is every single one of us, I have to do it. You have to do it. We all have to do it, because there are some things that I don't know that I need to know, but I'm willing.
Right. Hey, Dave.
There are some things that
I'm sorry, man, but to that point, I asked a question, and sometimes I ask questions because I want to make you think, or I'm asking questions because I honestly don't know. So I asked a question about this popular saying, "Think like an African." I'm like, what does that mean? That sounds vague to me. That sounds like a slogan. What does "think like an African" mean? I said, you know, and which African? The Kenyans, the South Africans, the Nigerians? Which Africans? And do all Africans think alike? Because you got a bunch of different tribes with a bunch of different cultural practices. And then I'm like, are you talking about the way they think about politics, the way they think about money, the way they think about family? Well, that's a vague statement. And so I'm asking the question, and so I know sometimes the way I talk and the passion people hear in my voice, they might misinterpret it. But when I'm typing stuff, you don't hear nothing. You see the question, and man, people was coming at me. Oh, everybody know what that mean. I think you just trying to troll. I didn't even know where it came from, so I'm not gonna say the individual's name. But this is a popular individual, and it came from them. And I was like, well, I saw it in the YouTube comments of a program that, what's her name? She really puts out some good information. Yvette Carnell, her channel on YouTube, Breaking Brown. So I'll read through the comments just to see where people mind at, and this person said, think like an African. And I was like, well, what does think like an African mean? So that person didn't respond. So I posted it where a lot of people are on social media. I thought somebody on Facebook could tell me what think like an African was. Man, this one person told me I'm trying to divide and conquer. I'm like, by asking what think like an African means? And what do you have for me to divide and conquer? I don't see that you have anything that I'm trying to conquer. I'm trying to attain knowledge. I want to understand what that means. See, if you told me think like a panther, a Black Panther, I might think you talking about their 10-point program, that the Black Panther Party put out. But then I kept thinking about it and people was attacking me, and I was holding to, I was getting frustrated, so I back away before I call somebody a name or cuss them out, because I'm trying to hold to Dr. Wilson's recommendation on how to interact with other people and not call them names, and even if they being nasty to you. So I back away, I come back, and somebody else did. And then several people posted what think like an African mean, and they were all different. And I said, wait a minute, y'all just proved my point. That all people, whether they African, Black people, white people, Chinese people, wherever, everybody don't think the same. And then, you blasting on me. Why I'm admitting that I don't know. I said, explain to me like I'm a child that don't know nothing. That, please break it down for me. Malcolm X said, don't be quick to condemn somebody who don't know what you know or think how you think or as fast.
Exactly.
So why you blasting on me for asking a question? But then somebody says something and they mention Malcolm X's name, and then the light went off. I know where that came from. That came from Malcolm X. He was on a news program, and he said, think like a black man. He said, when you think like a black man, you will feel for other black people. You'll care what Dr. Wilson was saying. And I do believe her and Mr. Neely Fuller were heavily influenced by Malcolm X. I ain't never heard them say it, but I think they were influenced. Because Malcolm X was saying that when you think like a black man, you will feel for other black people. You will care about other black people. So, I was like, that's why I was so thrown off. I knew I heard something similar, but I couldn't put my finger on it until I went to YouTube and I found the clip where he's saying, I think there'll come a time when black folks become intellectually mature and they'll be able to think for themselves like other people think for themselves, and they will feel for, and I'm paraphrasing now, but they'll feel for what other black people are going through and whatnot. But again, these slogans and stuff, man, and I tell you, man, it's just terrible.
Yeah, we listen, we're going to get ready to go to a commercial break, and I want to respond to Scotty, Strategic Melon, and put some good stuff in the chat room. So, listen, if you'd like to get in on the conversation, give us a call, 866-510-9025, 866-510-9025, and hit star. We'll see you in queue. I'm going to give you a little one to think about before we go. You heard this slogan? I'm going to tell you something about slogans. They're always politically correct, and politically correct is always morally wrong. You remember this one? What would Jesus do? Ooh. I'm not digging on anything. But see, these slogans and this so-called false fake enlightenment has nothing to do with really definitely should be moving you in a slow walk. It's not the fast talk of sales, but the slow walk of service. Getting ready to go to a commercial break. You're listening to Thando Radio Show, brought to you by Black Talk Radio Network. We'll be right back after this quick commercial break.
Talk Radio Network. For podcasts and live program scheduling, visit us on the web at blacktalkradionetwork.com.
Okay, welcome back, everyone, to Thando Radio Show, brought to you by Black Talk Radio Network. If you'd like to get in on the conversation, give us a call, 866-510-9025, 866-510-9025. Hit star. We'll see you in queue. But if I'm off of the page, I won't see you. Just say, excuse me, and hit star, unmute yourself and say, excuse me, and then I will definitely get to you. And Scotty had brought up a great point about, when he was saying the slogan here, think like an African. And let me tell you what all of these slogans do. Think of all of these slogans, hope and change. Think of all of these slogans, all of the ones that oh man, it's just been so many slogans. Those are catch-alls to catch you to think that you're going to be doing something else. How about we say nothing and do everything? That's an asymmetrical approach that is more beneficial and more prosperous and is more productive than saying anything. So there are so many things when it comes to the dilemmas of the awakened mind. And I would say that the mind is really awakened when it realizes that it is an individual that has birthrights and abilities and talents that is exclusively theirs, and they respect their overall talents and abilities because their talents and abilities was given to them as a gift. Now, how they perfect that talent and ability shows their discipline and appreciation for what they have. And when they appreciate and they're able to individually appreciate what they have and who they are, it's easier for them. And it's easier for them to appreciate all the other living entities in fullness. May not agree, may not like, but they understand and they have a respect for what it is because everyone can change. Everyone can change and go in a different direction. The good can go, those that will try to be malevolent can go benevolent, and those that are benevolent may try to go malevolent. That's the beauty of this whole thing. But I think there's some real challenges that we have, because what happens is that, in my opinion, it becomes the fad of the moment. And we keep waiting for certain events to happen, but we don't create new blossoming events in our lives that we don't have to wait for because we're busy building. We don't use a wishbone, we use our backbone. We create our sovereignty and independence. In the meantime, we're wise enough to be frugal about what it is that we need to be frugal about. And I'm going to tell you something. Exercising restraint and discipline is the hardest thing to do for the schooled mind. But is within us all. So when Scotty was talking about the slogans that's going on, that's the part of the fake consciousness that's around. Because real consciousness it allows you to see something different or see the degrees and be able to balance the different sides, knowing that you can go this way or that way, knowing that your talents are here, weighing out all of the variables and balancing them out and making a concerted effort through your will on what's the best direction for you. They say that there's black consciousness. Yes, there is black consciousness. But could different things be moved into a false consciousness there as well? Of course. They say that there could be this consciousness or that consciousness. because just because you put a good slogan on it doesn't mean automatically that the individuals that are within that realm or within that sphere are sincere, nor are they have a benevolent state of existence. And a benevolent state of existence doesn't mean that you're a punk. Doesn't mean that you cower down to anything. It means that you allow your consciousness to decide what principles you stand on and how to effectively use those principles with discipline. Meaning sometimes that you will give up what the overall physical or emotional appeal would be for the more cerebral, appropriate approach to everything. It's a difficult thing. But it has to be something that you want to project, not just now, but every now that you have. And it starts to come together in a succinct form, because the more you practice at different things, the better you get at it. Have you ever seen someone with great talent in a different field, like basketball or something else, but they didn't have a love for the game? So what did they do at practice? They didn't practice as well, and I'm not talking about my man Allen Iverson, not the phrase practice. We're talking about practice. No, I'm not talking about such as that. But I'm just saying in general, someone with great talents, but they just didn't have the love for that overall. All talent can be squandered. Black consciousness can be squandered.
Dave,
yes.
on that, and that's another thing that came up when, different people was giving me different answers. And so I thought about what they said, and then I was like, okay, is that unique to Africans only? But again, you ain't told me which Africans, because Africa is a continent. But I said, do Chinese people work together? Do Japanese people unify? I was like, that's just a natural instinct for groups that share a culture, share a language, share a common experience. So that's not uniquely African. And so, I'm just trying to think about things critically and do this make sense to me? And, if you can explain it to me in a way that it makes sense, I'm not going to deny the truth. I'll be a fool to deny the truth that you have shared with me. But on those slogans, though, I got to say, man, the most effective slogan that I ever seen in history of politics was that change you can believe in. Because
change you can believe in.
I mean, it fit him perfectly because he didn't look
that's what I meant to say. Change you could believe in, right.
He didn't look like previous CEOs of USA Inc. He didn't sound like them. He didn't move like them. And so people was really, this is a change from what we known before, and so we're going to overly expect him to be different than the others. And it turned out he wasn't, and in fact, he was worse than his predecessor in certain areas. And then that other sorry slogan, she's just a terrible politician, but she tried to come up with a slogan, I'm with her. You know who I'm talking about, right? I'm with her. No, I'm not. I'm not with you, Hillary. I'm sorry. You caused a bunch of Africans to get murdered in Libya.
You talking about Hillary?
Yeah, Hillary. I'm not with you, Hillary. But these slogans, man, it sucks people in.
Because it's not. Real consciousness requires that you give up some things, and I'm gonna tell you what you give up. There's a way that you resonate differently, and then you start to give up certain things. You may not give up everything, but you move and you strive. I'm going to tell you, your friends don't like you the way that they used to like you before. The things that you used to do, you don't seem to want to do anymore. Your conversation, your overall resonance, how you use your energy is completely different. You're not as fun as you used to be, and this and all this. Many of those things happen. Consciousness really causes you to go within yourself to fine-tune your true balance and abilities so that you can reach more full potentials of your capabilities. And that's so important. And in this article, let me hit this because it goes right along with what we're talking about here. This article, number 2, it says, how will we choose to communicate our awareness? Just a short time ago, loneliness was the dilemma of the awakening mind. Yet now, so many are awake to some degree with technology. And what is that technology that they're speaking of, ladies and gentlemen? It is the internet, and I'm going to tell you, it's Facebook. See, there's a false and fake consciousness that's happening within the social media realm. We got to be careful of it, in my opinion. I'm so careful of it that I said I'm walking away from it. Not necessary for me. It's necessary for Scotty, because that's what draws people here, and that what draws people to the network. Everyone's objective is different, but some people are in this fake consciousness, and what they're doing is this. This is what's going to happen. They're going to say, I've heard that before, and nothing happened the last time. None happened to a Y2K. None happened here, and that's exactly what the system wants you to do. It wants you to develop a consciousness, an ennui consciousness, to where you're like, I'm going to move on to something else that's new. But let me go back to this. With technology has come some tremendous freedoms of communication, but it's too much to process. To survive, we must take shelter on islands of comprehension. Stranding ourselves with others of identical perspectives. We are splintering into tribes rather than unifying as a cohesive family unit. In such and with such a competing voice, opinions, and perspectives, all of which lays claim to a higher ground of the awakening. And this is one thing I know. Competition is the worst thing for us. In today's world, competition has become the devil's drug, because it brings out the worst of us all. And I'm not talking about the overall individual that man has lied you about being the devil. I'm talking about the consciousness of devilness and of evil. One of its preferred methods is competing. Your job tries to get you to compete against this. And it's saying that you need to compete because that's how you control people. People will make you compete for their attention. People will make you compete for this and compete for that and compete until where you realize something. All competition is based in fraud, and it's rigged. And this is the thing that teaches us to not to appreciate each other, but it puts a seed of discord that turns into violent rage. We've been competing far too much and cooperating nowhere near enough. Article continues. Do we insist that our understanding is final and demand assimilation? Do we assume certain and put on a confidence game of defense the information that we like the best? Do we use dogma and insults that our truth, and that our truth is the only acceptable truth? Do we move this down? Oh no, don't tell me it went up. Sorry, you all. My dad going. Oh, no. Okay, here we go. Whew. My page shut down for a minute. Okay. Now that we know that we have the choices of becoming repeaters of information or craftsmen of a new story, What shall we do? Next, number 3, what actions will we take to honor this awareness? Choosing to remain stuck in the endless spiral of negative information parasite is a form of self-imposed psychosis. Nothing is gained if we are aware that mind morons insist on being on an island of perpetual studies and looping examinations. This is the resistance to the act of doing what is needed to experience the idea which we have motivated and inspired the awakening. At some point, it becomes imperious to declare ourselves aware enough already, then find ways to take action towards fulfilling the purpose of a grander and greater thing than ourselves. Moves down. This is an infinite possibility in which actions of an individual can take to accelerate the drive, both in personal and communal terms. Any push towards action through a great or merging is honorable, for the body just needs to be set in motion so it can stay in motion and then gain momentum. To honor the progress, we must expose our condition. It's now necessary to accept the call to action, and it's time to actually create the world we wish to manifest. Very true in so many ways, because having an awakening experience and doing nothing about it puts us further into a coma. Because the next awakening moment will not move us. And I think that we have to have a reverence for our consciousness to always move it into action. What good is it that you know all these things and you do nothing about it? What good is it if you heard something that was consciously sound and it didn't resonate into any form of action? How many times do we have to sit and hear a speech from a great orator just because it's really just entertainment, when there's no actions that we produce from it? And we're waiting for the next entertaining moment. We're waiting because it makes us feel good, or it makes us think temporarily. Is it really making us think? Or is it just momentarily pacifying our inactions? Because we think, just because we thought something, that was a form of action. We think all the time. We don't move all the time. Your thought process is continuous. Your overall movement by way of energy has to be initiated. We are right where we're supposed to be. And I think is the most beautiful thing. Because what we can all learn from it all and change the way we do things is critical. If you did something yesterday that you were successful at, next time, wait and see what happens. You may find a treasure there. But the key is that we always have to continue to do. And I want to just use this biblical story for a second, because in principle, it's a great story from this standpoint, in my opinion. How long did Noah take to build the ark? And in that time that Noah was building the ark, just from the standpoint of what the biblical story is, not saying anything more, but just for this point, many people walked past Noah and didn't pick up a hammer. And they went through and said, Noah, what you building this ark for? There is no water that is coming. We don't, just thinking, I'm not sure, wasn't there, you weren't there either, and I don't like to think that we are highly more advanced in some form of time and everything, because I don't know, and I don't like people to think that other people at other times in history were more advanced than we are right now, because you don't know, you weren't there, and everything else. So just from the standpoint of this here, I don't know. Maybe the story was like, we don't even have Doppler. We can't even see a storm is coming or whatever, things of that nature. But see, the thing is this, is the principle of the whole thing is that Noah's action is what always gets overlooked. So what? Noah knew something was coming. Guess what? Other people probably said, you know what, Noah's probably right, because I could kind of feel it too, and walked away. Or maybe they did pick up a hammer. Doesn't really matter. It really matters this from this standpoint for you. What are we really doing with everything that we get exposed to, and especially in the realm of we are now awakened from where we were yesterday. We may not be fully aware of everything, but what are we doing with that? I think there's 4 types of people: pushers, pullers, watchers, and riders. The pusher is the one that pushes the boulder up the mountain. The puller is the one that the boulder is strapped to. So that if the puller ever decides that they can't push anymore and they jump out the way, the puller is going down with the boulder. So the puller is even more committed to it all because they're strapped to it. They have to give all of their energy and they can't quit. The jump on top and go along with it. Wherever y'all going, I want to go without expending any energy. And if I can get there with y'all, man, we did it. I'll give you lip service. Yeah, let's do it. But they're not giving any energy. If anything, they're heavy. Then there's the watchers. They're waiting to see what the outcome will be. And in this conscious realm, and being aware of things, are you a pusher, puller, rider, or watcher? And I would say pull everything that you have with the talents that you have to where you want to go. It's not going to be the way that the system designed it. You're not going to see the successful steps through the eyes of the system's created paradigm. You're going to have to be able to see your success based off how much energy you've exerted. You will know that you're growing. And when you're growing, when you're pulling, to be aligned with other pullers, there's a mutual respect that you have. And the pushers, at some point, at some times, can become the pullers. And we hope that will be the process. And then the riders will stop riding and start pushing until they become the pullers. And then the watchers will jump in somewhere. Watchers are keen, important. They may decide to go one way or another. And when it is with them, they come into it fresh. So I think that this dilemma of the awakening mind is very, very important. Because to sum it all up, you're never really awake if you don't have any actions behind the consciousness that's your guide. And I think it's even more of a dangerous thing that it will put you into a further coma by knowing certain things and doing nothing about it. And I'm not saying what those things are. That's for you to decide. My man Scotty is there. Scotty, you wanted to jump in on something?
Oh, no. I was just unmuting for the break coming up.
For break. Definitely. If you'd like to get in on the conversation, give us a call, 866-510-9025, 866-510-9025. Hit star, getting ready to go to a commercial break. When we come back, we're going to jump into this blockchain thing because I wanted to first get this out to you, and then now let's see what we're doing. And if you want to do certain things, you will do exactly what it is that you set your will to once you put the energy to it. Doesn't matter what you put your mind to. Matters really what you put your energy to. You're listening to Thando Radio Show, brought to you by Black Talk Radio Network. We'll be right back after this quick commercial break.
In 2008, the Black Talk Media Project launched the digital radio platform Black Talk Radio Network, the first such platform created to serve the black community specifically. Black Talk Radio Network has grown with a variety of radio hosts, digital radio stations, and podcasters. Web analytics say Black Talk Radio, the platform, has an online reach that ranks it among the top independent black media platforms in the world. All of this is possible because of financial contributions to the nonprofit Black Talk Media Project. If you love the work we do and the voices and perspectives we bring to you every day, make a donation today to ensure that Black Talk Radio is here in the future. Black Talk Radio is new black media for the new millennium.
Okay, welcome back, everyone, to Thando Radio Show, brought to you by Black Talk Radio Network. I'm your host, Dave from LA. Getting ready to jump into this. It's going to be an 18-minute video about how the blockchain is changing. It says changing money and business, but it's not changing money. But you know how it's currency that's changing. So, but you can definitely use it to acquire money, which is, I think, is very, very important. So we're going to jump into it. Here we go. Listen up.
The technology likely to have the greatest impact on the next few decades has arrived. And it's not social media, it's not big data, it's not robotics, it's not even AI. And you'll be surprised to learn that it's the underlying technology of digital currencies like Bitcoin. It's called the blockchain. Blockchain. Now, it's not the most sonorous word in the world, but I believe that this is now the next generation of the internet, and that it holds vast promise for every business, every society, and for all of you individually. You know, for the past few decades, we've had the internet of information. And when I send you an email or a PowerPoint file or something, I'm actually not sending you the original, I'm sending you a copy. And that's great. This is democratized information. But when it comes to assets, things like money, financial assets like stocks and bonds, loyalty points, intellectual property, music, art, a vote, carbon credit, and other assets, sending you a copy is a really bad idea. If I send you $100, it's really important that I don't still have the money and that I can't send it to you. So this has been called the double spend problem by cryptographers for a long time. So today we rely entirely on big intermediaries, middlemen like banks, governments, big social media companies, credit card companies, and so on, to establish trust in our economy. And these intermediaries perform all the business and transaction logic of every kind of commerce, from authentication, identification of people, through to clearing, settling, and record keeping. And overall, they do a pretty good job, but there are growing problems. To begin, they're centralized. That means that they can be hacked, and increasingly are. And J.P. Morgan, the U.S. federal government, LinkedIn, Home Depot, and others found that out the hard way. They exclude billions of people from the global economy. For example, people who don't have enough money to have a bank account. They slow things down. It can take a second for an email to go around the world, but it can take days or weeks for money to move through the banking system across the city. And they take a big piece of the action, 10 to 20% just to send money to another country. They capture our data, and that means that we can't monetize it or use it to better manage our lives. And our privacy is being undermined. And the biggest problem is that overall, they've appropriated the largesse of the digital age asymmetrically. And we have wealth creation, but we have growing social inequality. So what if there were not only an internet of information, what if there were an internet of value? Some kind of vast, global, distributed ledger running on millions of computers and available to everybody, and where every kind of asset, from money to music, could be stored, moved, transacted, exchanged, and managed, all without powerful intermediaries. What if there were a native medium for value? Well, in 2008, the financial industry crashed, and perhaps propitiously, an unknown or anonymous person or persons named Satoshi Nakamoto created a paper where he developed a protocol for a digital cash that used an underlying cryptocurrency called Bitcoin. And this cryptocurrency enabled people to establish trust and do transactions without a third party. And the seemingly simple act set off a spark that's ignited the world, that has everyone excited or terrified or otherwise interested in many places. Now, don't be confused about Bitcoin, okay? Bitcoin is an asset. It goes up and down, and that should be of interest to you if you're a speculator. More broadly, it's a cryptocurrency. It's not a fiat currency controlled by a nation state, and that's of greater interest. But the real pony here is the underlying technology. It's called blockchain. So for the first time now in human history, people everywhere can trust each other and transact peer-to-peer. And trust is established not by some big institution, but by collaboration, by cryptography, and by some clever code. And because trust is native to the technology, I call this the trust protocol. Now, you're probably wondering, well, how does this thing work? Fair enough. Assets, digital assets like money to music and everything in between, are not stored in a central place, but they're distributed across a global ledger using the highest level of cryptography. And when a transaction is conducted, it's posted globally across millions and millions of computers. And out there around the world is a group of people called miners. These are not young people, they're Bitcoin miners. And they have massive computing power at their fingertips, 10 to 100 times bigger than all of Google worldwide. And these miners do a lot of work. And every 10 minutes, kind of like the heartbeat of a network, a block gets created that has all the transactions from the previous 10 minutes. And then the miners get to work trying to solve some tough problems, and they compete. And the first miner to find out the truth and to validate the block is rewarded in digital currency, in the case of the Bitcoin blockchain with Bitcoin. And then, this is the key part, that block is linked to the previous block and the previous block to create a chain of blocks. And everyone is time-stamped, kind of like with a digital wax seal. So if I wanted to go and hack a block and say, pay you and you with the same money, I'd have to hack that block plus all the preceding blocks, the entire history of commerce on that blockchain, not just on one computer, but across millions of computers simultaneously, all using the highest levels of encryption in the light of the most powerful computing resource in the world that's watching me. Tough to do. And this is infinitely more secure than the computer systems that we have today. Blockchain, that's how it works. So the Bitcoin blockchain is just one. There are many. The Ethereum blockchain was developed by a Canadian named Vitalik Buterin. He's 19 years old. And this blockchain has some extraordinary capabilities. One of them is that you can build smart contracts. It's kind of what it sounds like. It's a contract that self-executes. And the contract handles the enforcement and the management, performance, and payment. The contract kind of has a bank account, too, in a sense, of agreements between people. And today, on the Ethereum blockchain, there are projects underway to do everything from create a new replacement for the stock market to create a new model of democracy where politicians are accountable to citizens. So to understand what a radical change this is going to bring, let's look at one industry, financial services. You recognize this? Rube Goldberg machine. It's a ridiculously complicated machine that does something really simple like crack an egg or shut a door. Well, kind of reminds me of the financial services industry, honestly. I mean, you tap your card in the corner store and a bit stream goes through a dozen companies, and each with their own computer systems, some of them being 1970s mainframes, older than many of the people in this room. And 3 days later, a settlement occurs. Well, with a blockchain financial industry, there would be no settlement because the payment and the settlement is the same activity. It's just a change in the ledger. So Wall Street and all around the world, the financial industry is in a big upheaval about this, wondering, can we be replaced or how do we embrace this technology for success? Now, why should you care? Well, let me describe some applications. Prosperity. The first era of the Internet of Information, brought us wealth, but not shared prosperity because social inequality is growing. And this is at the heart of all of the anger and extremism and protectionism and xenophobia that we're seeing growing in the world today. Brexit being the most recent case. So could we develop some new approaches to this problem of inequality? Because the only approach today is to redistribute wealth, tax people and spread it around more. Could we pre-distribute wealth? Could we change the way the wealth gets created in the first place by democratizing wealth creation, engaging more people in the economy, and in ensuring that they got fair compensation? Let me describe 5 ways that this can be done. Number 1, did you know that 70% of the people in the world who have land have a tenuous title to it? So you got a little farm in Honduras, and a dictator comes to power. He says, I know you got a piece of paper that says you own your farm, but the government computer says my friend owns your farm. This happened on a mass scale in Honduras, and this problem that exists everywhere. Hernando de Soto, the great Latin American economist, says this is the number 1 issue in the world in terms of economic mobility, more important than having a bank account. Because if you don't have a valid title to your land, you can't borrow against it, and you can't plan for the future. So today, companies are working with governments to put land titles on a blockchain. And once it's there, this is immutable. You can't hack it. This creates the conditions for prosperity for potentially billions of people. Second, a lot of writers talk about Uber and Airbnb and TaskRabbit and Lyft and so on as part of the sharing economy. This is a very powerful idea that peers can come together and create and share wealth. My view is that these companies are not really share. In fact, they're successful precisely because they don't share. They aggregate services together and they sell them. What if rather than Airbnb being a $25 billion corporation, there was a distributed application on a blockchain, we'll call it B Airbnb, and it was essentially owned by all of the people who have a room to rent. And when someone wants to rent a room, they go onto the blockchain database and all the criteria sift through, help them find the right room. And then the blockchain helps with the contracting. It identifies the party. It handles the payments, just through digital payments are built into the system. And it even handles reputation, because if she rates a room as a 5-star room, that room is there, and it's rated, and it's immutable. So the big sharing economy disruptors in Silicon Valley could be disrupted, and this would be good for prosperity. Number 3, the biggest flow of funds from the developed world to the developing world is not corporate investment, and it's not even foreign aid. It's remittances. This is the global diaspora, people who've left their ancestral lands, and they're sending money back to their families at home. This is $600 billion a year, and it's growing, and these people are getting ripped off. Annalie Domingo is a housekeeper, and she lives in Toronto, and every month she goes to the Western Union office with some cash to send her remittances to her mom in Manila. It costs her around 10%. The money takes 4 to 7 days to get there. Her mom never knows when it's going to arrive. It takes 5 hours out of her week to do this. 6 months ago, Annalie Domingo used a blockchain application called Abra. And from her mobile device, she said $300 went directly to her mom's mobile device without going through an intermediary. And then her mom looked at her mobile device, and it's kind of like an Uber interface. There's Abra tellers moving around. She clicks on a teller that's a 5-star teller. He's 7 minutes away. The guy shows up at the door, gives her Filipino pesos. She puts them in her wallet. The whole thing took minutes, and it cost her 2%. This is a big opportunity for prosperity. Number 4, the most powerful asset of the digital age is data. And data is really a new asset class, maybe bigger than previous asset classes like land under the agrarian economy or in industrial plants, or even money. And all of you, we create this data. We create this asset. And we leave this trail of digital crumbs behind us as we go throughout life. And these crumbs are collected into a mirror image of you, the virtual you. And the virtual you may know more about you than you do, because you can't remember what you bought a year ago or said a year ago or your exact location a year ago. And the virtual you is not owned by you. That's the big problem. So today there are companies working to create a identity in a black box. The virtual you owned by you. And this black box moves around with you as you travel throughout the world, and it's very, very stingy. It only gives away the shred of information that's required to do something. A lot of transactions, the seller doesn't even need to know who you are. They just need to know that they got paid. And then this avatar is sweeping up all this data and enabling you to monetize it. And this is a wonderful thing, because it can also help us protect our privacy. And privacy is the foundation of a free society. Let's get this asset that we create back under our control, where we can own our own identity and manage it responsibly. Finally,
all right, I'm gonna end it there. Pick it up a little bit later. This is a part of the blockchain now. For me, there's nothing new about this, but it's being used in a different way. And I think we need to be cautious about it in all that we do. This type of technology, to me, will not be relevant until an individual can create their own. Because with that, it means that you are completely in control of everything. Now, this is, in my opinion, is going to be something that is the system itself, because you got to remember something. We're using something that you didn't create. So what's the true intention of those that created it? You really don't know, other than what they told you. But until that time, this is going to continue to grow And I see it as an opportunity for you to take out what you need and build what you need to be building by your works. Someone needs to create an individual internet that can have the choice to tie into the global internet if it chooses. Because sovereignty begins with individuality. And then that individuality can determine what collective prudence it will have, not being coerced by anything outside. So I love the opportunity that it has, and I want to seize it because it's something that you can own. It's not anything that you can control. This is why the cryptocurrency space is only going to explode. And the initial stages is where if it's going to be benevolent, and the initial stages is going to make it look like it is beneficial to all, so everyone will jump into it. Knowing that the best policy and the best procedure from history that tells us is to trust nothing that the system creates, because you didn't know if it was created sincerely or not. Believe them that they lie, and protect yourself and guard yourself and protect yourself at all times. So I use this to take out right now what I need in a way that if it ever does turn out to be, because the story that they said of how Bitcoin was derived is, to me, is a pure fabrication, and I see who's really behind it is the banks. It's the same institutions that established. In order for that blockchain to work, it needs what? The internet. Who created the internet? Is it powerful? Yes. Is it going to be able to be strategically used by people? If they choose to. I would hope you would. Have a strategical plan for everything. Be open to it all, but have a strategical plan to sever your ties immediately. I think that's always the best policy that protects you. And what protects you protects me. And what protects us protects all. So I'm using this. And I know where we are in this overall game, this overall game. If it's not sincere, it's going to show itself. But initially, it's going to have to show itself as being the most wonderful thing since sliced bread. And bread is unnatural. So I want to use it to my advantage, on my terms, by my means, and then decide how I will engage in it in the future. I want to own it because I can't control it. And I understand what happens with ownership. Everything that you own can be repossessed. So just wanted to, if there's anyone that has any comments or questions about it, would like to get in before we get out of here, give us a call, 866-510-9025, 866-510-9025. I will just tell you that I've done pretty well with it, and there are other things that we haven't even talked about. I will talk about I have to first see how everything works out before I even say something to you all about it.
Dave, I have a quick question.
Yeah, go ahead, Scotty.
Yeah, the part that he said about the internet divide is creating. Excuse me, let me gather my thoughts. You know, I'm working with very little sleep right now, but
yeah. No, you're good.
I was thinking about the digital divide, but I want to bring that up too. But he talked about the internet creating a wealth gap. Okay, you remember he mentioned that?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that is because, in my opinion, that people who had computers back in the day had access to be able to trade. You know what I'm saying? To be able to trade in the markets and also be able to sell digital goods and whatnot. I mean, back in 1999, 2000, I didn't make a lot of money, but I made like 1 year, I maybe made about $1,000, and that was just selling affiliate products. And this was before Facebook and Twitter and all of that kind of stuff, you know, and, but I can see how that did create a wealth divide. Now, what were we talking about yesterday? If they tried to destroy the open internet and kill net neutrality, can you imagine how wide that wealth divide would grow? And it also plays into traditionally oppressed communities with oppressed economies, like the black community and other poor communities, because there's what's known as the digital divide, especially when you're talking about black people. Most black people only today have access to a cell phone, to the internet. You know, more and more as technology has gotten cheaper, more and more are buying, you know, desktop computers, laptop computers, but that digital divide still exists. And I just never really thought about how that does create a wealth divide until I listened to that clip.
It's huge. It's huge. Let me put it down what Scotty is saying. The young man that created Ethereum for the blockchain system, basically the blockchain system, he was only able to do that because he had access to the internet and he had a reliable way to get onto the internet. The only way that you're going to be gaining in these cryptocurrencies is if you have the access to digital. There's some places that don't. They won't be able to engage in the new tokens and the blockchain and everything else. By the time that they'll be able to engage in it, those overall blockchains will be brought, the digital age will be brought to them by the blockchain members that have already got into it at founder stock right now, before anybody else could buy it. This is how you're able to gain thousand-folds of what your initial investment is. You're turning $20, $200 into $25,000, $35,000. This is where we are. And it's something that we have to deal with. And it's something that you have a choice to engage in or not to engage in. But if you do engage in it, it doesn't matter if you're there. And if you don't engage in it, it doesn't matter if you're going to be there. Because those that are engaging in the blockchain and engaging in the crypto digital space right now, they won't care if you're in it or if you're not. They're still going to do it. And that's where this divide is going to be great. I say, use it to your advantage. Use it as a tool that you can own so that you will be able to devise things that are more in sync and resonate, because the real problems of the blockchain is only going to be coming as it becomes more widely exposed. That's where it's going to be. It ain't all what it cracked up to be. But until then, it's going to be cracking. So just wanted to give that to you. We're going to bring you some more information about this and let you make your own decision. I've made mine individually. If you wanted to know what mine is, I have no problem sharing it with you. But do things at your own, don't do it because I said it. Do it because it's how you want to resonate and it's important to you. Do your own due diligence and realize that it's something definitely that you could lose whatever you put up. Okay? You definitely can do that. There is no, it is not a perfect, and if it is perfect, that means that there's a real devilish disguise behind it all. The devil is in the details. You may just not be able to read the digital objective of it all. So many things, but use it to your benefit. So I just want to say thank you all for listening to Thando Radio Show. We're going to get ready to get out of here. We went over a little bit longer than what we did. We'll have part 2 to this. I want to get this to you so that you can make your own decisions. I've made my decision. I've engaged in it for a very long time, and it hasn't changed. I'm only using it as something that I own to get what it is that I want to control. So much love, much respect. There's never goodbye. As always, we'll see you later. And before you ask for a fortune, make sure to give one away. Brother Bragg, if you would. My brother, yes, love you so much. Chime us on out of here, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace, peace.
Peace, peace.
Peace, peace.
Gold dinar would have had serious consequences for the world financial system, but may also have empowered the people of Africa, something black activists say the US wants to avoid at all costs.
We're slicing cake. We're slicing cake. We're slicing cake.
Say the US wants to avoid at all costs.
We're slicing cake.
Say the US wants to avoid at all costs.
We're slicing.
Gaddafi didn't give up. In the months leading up to the military intervention, he called on African and Muslim nations to join together to create this new currency that would rival the dollar and euro. They would sell oil and other resources around the world only for gold dinars. It's an idea that would shift the economic balance of the world. Countries' wealth would depend on how much gold they have, not how many dollars they trade. And Libya has 144 tons of gold.